Assalamualaikum. Very good afternoon to everybody. Welcome back to our course, Literature for Emotional Intelligence. For today's class, I will be covering another topic, another dimension to the discussion of emotional intelligence. But before that, let's have a look at an important component of this course, which is the literature component. The title of our course is Literature for Emotional Intelligence. So I want to start by getting us to think about what is literature. So my loose definition of literature, a working definition if you like, is literature is a creative work that captures the imagination of the reader and the audience through the art of storytelling. So why do I say reader or audience? Because, literature can be a book that you read. It can be a play that you watch, right? So the way literature is presented, the medium through which the text is presented, it may be something that you're reading. It may be something that you are experiencing, right? It could be like a spoken word poetry where somebody is reciting a poem to you. So you as the participant of that storytelling experience, you may be reading the text, you may be experiencing it as a stage performance, but either way, the text is allowing you to imagine certain things, right? So literature is a work of art that captures your imagination as a reader or an audience through the art of storytelling. So I want to give you an example of a literary text. This is from a children's literature, a children's rhyme written by Dr. Seuss, the American children's story book writer. And this particular rhyme comes from his book called Oh, the Places You'll Go. Okay? And this is where the art of imagination comes in. So imagine this verse, this rhyme. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know where you know, and you know what you know. And you are the one who'll decide where to go. So as a reader, you use your imagination to kind of go along with the story that the writer is telling you. So the writer engages your mind through the art of storytelling, but you as a reader participate through the art of reading and the art of imagining what you are reading. So then the story comes to life. So literature allows the reader to go places in their mind, but the reader must participate actively. Okay, so that's the component of literature. And for today's discussion, I'm going to be using a particular literary work, which is cartoons produced by a particular cartoonist by the name of Charles M. Schulz. He was born on the 26th of November 1922, and he passed away on the 12th of February 2000. And he started producing cartoons for the American newspaper, a little bit like Malaysian equivalent LAT, our Datuk LAT. He started producing this cartoon collection of children, and through the children's discussion and stories and questioning, he raised certain fundamental issues in society. And the cartoon was called Peanuts. It started on the 2nd of October 1950, and it concluded on the 13th of February 2000, a day after he passed. So I'm going to use a few of the Peanuts cartoon strips to discuss today's topic. So I want us to start thinking about this topic or this question. Can we decide what we are going to think? Like, can you decide in the morning as you open your eyes, or even before you open your eyes, you're in bed, you hear the alarm, switch off the alarm. can you decide what you are going to think for the day? Can you decide what thoughts you will have in your mind for the day? Okay, so this is from a cartoon, from the Peanuts cartoon strip, and I'm introducing two characters here. The first is Lucy Van Pelt. This is Lucy, the older sister, and this is Linus, her younger brother. So in this cartoon strip, Linus asks Lucy a question. How can a person just decide what he's going to think? Doesn't he have to think first and then try to discover what it is that he's thought? Deep questions from Linus, right? And Lucy's just looking at him. And then Linus says, "You're looking at me with blank eyes." It's like, basically, there's something humorous in the question that Linus asks Lucy. How can a person decide what he's going to think? Can you decide, first of all? Or must thoughts come to your mind and then you process those thoughts and then that becomes thinking? So even though it sounds very philosophical from this young boy, the question is important for us to think about. Can we in fact decide what we're going to think? Or do we wait for thoughts to come to our mind and then we process them? So based on those ideas, ask yourself these questions. Have you ever thought of these statements? I can't do this. I'm never good enough. They're so much smarter than I am. I'm afraid of their judgment. This is the worst thing that could have happened. I failed. I feel like giving up. I feel all alone in this. Have you ever thought of those? These statements, if you like, these are what psychologists call, positive psychologists call negativity bias. Okay, so what is negativity bias? Negativity bias is a tendency for us to focus on, look for, and dwell on negative aspects of life. The psychologist Catherine Moore says about negativity bias, and I quote, "Even when we experience numerous good events in one day, negativity bias can cause us to focus on the sole bad thing that occurred. It can lead us to ruminate on small things, worry over having made a bad impression, and linger on negative comments and the like." So negativity bias is pretty huge in our lives. Such examples of negativity bias includes the first one. You receive a performance review from your supervisor that was just quite positive overall, noted your strong performance and achievements, but the supervisor gives you a few constructive comments, points out areas in which you can improve, and you find yourself fixating on those remarks, right? Rather than feeling good that you've received positive review, you feel a little bit upset, even angry because of those constructive comments. So that's one example of negativity bias. Another example is, for instance, you try to speak up in class, okay, in one of your courses. You're trying to come up with some ideas, some feedback, some comments, but the ideas just don't flow. Maybe you have certain, like this, right? The ideas just don't flow, and you're cringing with embarrassment. You just, oh my God, what am I doing? This is just the worst thing that can ever happen to me. And every time you recall that incident, you're back in that moment. You're cringing with embarrassment. Oh my God, what did I do? Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have opened my mouth. I shouldn't have said something. Your friends don't ever bring it up. None of your classmates, mention it. But in your mind, you have done the worst thing. And you replay that episode again and again and again. That's called rumination. You're going through it in your mind many, many times. So negativity bias can actually cause us to have very chronic emotions like fear, anxiety, stress. In fact, a medical study showed that what happens with people who are focusing on negative experience it causes their stress level to go up. And when the stress level goes up, they have chances for them to be more negative becomes higher. So higher stress predicted a greater negativity bias and poorer social skills. So this is an important thing to kind of consider. Negativity bias is something real. A lot of us experience it. Almost every one of us have experiences when we're focusing on the negative things that's happening in our lives. But what we need to know is how to deal with it. So what can we do about it? So this is another cartoon strip, also from Peanuts. So the characters in this cartoon strip is Lucy, the sister, the character that was shown just now, and Charlie Brown. Okay, Charlie Brown is the central character of the Peanuts cartoon strip. So Lucy, sometimes she likes to open these booths, these psychiatric help booths, and she charges her friends 5 cents, for advice. So one day she opens his booth and Charlie Brown comes and says, I have deep feelings of depression. And Charlie's saying, what can I do about this? Lucy's thinking about it. Snap out of it. 5 cents, please. Simple. Right? For Lucy, it's a simple advice. Just snap out of it. But can you do that though? Is it that simple? Can you just snap out of it like that and assume things to be back to normal or back to you're feeling good again, you're feeling happy about your life again? Is it that easy? Negativity bias, in fact, causes us to be more fixed-minded, right, in our own thinking. And in fact, there are some ways. Medical research says that there are certain things that we can do to move out of the fixed mindset kind of emphasis. The single most important underlying factor, according to Dr. Kenneth Yeager from the Stress, Trauma and Resilience program, the single most important underlying factor is how we talk to ourselves about our experience. So if you are in a situation when, you're going through some emotional experience, you're feeling down, you're feeling uncertain about yourself, you're feeling fearful, you're feeling anxiety, and you got these negative ideas running through your mind. According to this study, one of the key things that we need to do is figure out how we talk to ourselves in that experience during that time. Do we say things that are negative about our experience? Do we tell ourselves those statements again and again and again? Or do we in fact challenge ourselves and become more mindful? Notice what kind of things we are saying about our experience. Notice what we can and cannot do about the experience. Notice how we can improve that situation. So what are the things that we are saying about the situation, and how are we registering that experience in our mind? That's one way to overcome negativity bias. So if you like, one thing that psychologists recommends is for us to reframe the negative experience, right? So whatever is registering, negative thoughts that's registering in your mind, reframe it. Basically, think about it from a new perspective, from a different perspective. And one way to reframe your negative experience is through the art of expressive writing, journaling, basically. Right? So one way to overcome negativity bias is by reframing the experience and focusing on how that experience has changed you. You can ask yourself certain crucial questions like, what would I do differently? What lessons have I learned from this experience?